And I didn't know there was any other kind of owl in the universe, so I just learned something. Okay, let's get started. We only have a little bit of time together. I want to speak today about being an importer of legacy. A lot of people in this room are here looking for importers, and that is a daunting task. It is really easy to be an importer in the United States. Don't have a federal crime record, don't have a local crime record, have fingerprints, have a little bit of money and an exceptional passion for wine. You can probably be an importer in the next 60 days in the US. The problem is you may not still be an importer a year later. So what I want to talk about is the importers in this industry that I think are making a real difference. The importers of legacy. You know the names. Frederick Wildman comes to mind as obviously a huge one. Kermit Lynch. There is the Hall of Fame list of importers, and I think there's a reason why over the last 20 years they got to where they are. I want to go through just a few brands quickly and just take a blink, a second, and remember what you think when you see these brands. I think this one's exceptionally powerful if you're over 40 years old. Who doesn't think guaranteed for life, right? What do these companies have in common? To me, it is a very specific DNA that has been crafted over decades and decades and decades that in a blink tells you exactly who they are. And they do that via consistency. How do you create consistency? You do that through both the product you sell and the culture you create. Since the beginning of time, we all could not be here today together. Since the beginning of time, people only come together in civilization because of the concept of consistency. If I didn't know what this half of the room was going to do, or you didn't know what that half of the room was going to do, we probably wouldn't show up. We don't like unpredictability. We want to trust what we see, we want to get used to things, and we want to depend on things. This is our mission statement. We're only going to focus on the first part up there in the white. Behind every farm, every winemaker, and every bottle, and every grape lies an untold story. We need to be reminded that 90-something% of the wines you drink in the United States, or actually anywhere in the world at this point, is agribusiness. We all like to hide from it, right? We want to pretend this isn't the case. We want to pretend that there's a winemaker and a little plot of land behind every bottle, but there's a lot of marketing companies. There's a lot of tanks that look just like this or are markedly bigger. There's a huge aspect to our business that is agribusiness, no different than corn, soy, or wheat. Our business is built differently, and it has been for 25 years, and I think it is incredibly important to put a line in the sand and define who you are as a business. So in time, over the thousands and thousands, and hopefully tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of bottles that will bear your name over the years, people know who you are and what to expect. These are the farms that De Morgan's on in Stellenbosch, South Africa. By the way, baboons are a huge problem and really fun to talk about, but no one ever wants to write about it, and the winemakers hate it. This is in the south of France at a biodynamic vineyard called Reserve de Eau with the most impossibly beautiful soil. Sometimes you don't realize how sexy dirt can be, right? Because it's just dirt. It makes your shoes dirty. But I'm talking about dirt that you can actually stick your hand in the ground and get up to your wrist and see worms and smell how fresh it is. And that's the kind of dirt that gets actually people excited about the product and the grapes that grow in the wine in the bottle. Fourth and fifth generation winemakers, that's Freddie and Peter DeVette, on the same farm for over 150 years making wine, and I don't have a doubt in my mind that Peter's children on the left, who are my children's age, will be in a photo where Peter makes it to the right sometime. That's legacy, that's consistency. We work in a category that focuses, well, for 22 of our years exclusively on South Africa. And we did this for a reason. One, I guess the easy one is my boss and the founder is South African, so he's going to do what he knows. But the other thing is we have believed in it from a DNA level in our company from day one. Has anyone in this room, or who in this room has been to South Africa? Did you leave pretty excited? You know, when you're on that flight home, I'm always amazed how many people I talk to on the flight home think about how they want to start a business in South Africa. I did on my first vacation long before I did what I do. It inspires people and it inspires us. And as you'll see in the next few slides, it's actually what inspires our entire organization from CEO to the newest hire who might be a month old. So, Storytelling will be a topic later, but I find this deeply important if you're going to have consistency, or if you're going to tell the story of your product to the US market. It amazes me how many amazing wines in the US have a back label that just has federal warnings, which to me are not very good for branding, and an imported sticker and nothing else. If you're going to touch your consumers with your message, your biggest platform is the bottle of wine you sell. I can't be everywhere. I might do 2 tastings a week. My team may do 100 tastings a week. But at the end of the day, if you're going to build a brand and be an importer of legacy, that little logo on the back needs to tie to a story that excites people, reminds everyone who you are with every bottle they buy. Everyone wants to say millennials are different. I was actually hoping you'd go into iGeneration, and I actually think the whole thing's a sham. I don't think millennials are any different. I think people from the beginning of time have wanted a story. I think they've wanted to connect to what they buy, but the time and place we live in today in 2016, that's way more acceptable than it was, say, in the 50s. But the people that discovered McDonald's were excited about McDonald's when McDonald's started. There was a time when Coors beer on the East Coast was the most exciting thing you could ever get, right? That was Fat Tire before Fat Tire. It's all the same story. People want to believe in what they buy. It's just a different time and place. We created this brand called Jam Jar, and it's an interesting brand to me because it's so unlike what we do. The whole portfolio we have is really tiny domains and tiny farmers and just amazing small production products. And then we have this beast that we created called Jam Jar. I don't know if anyone in the room knows the brand, but it's a really important brand to us because it created a category. And it did so with the same ethos. We've done everything we've ever done since 1992. We said, what if we had this juice from this area called Parle, which makes amazing Shiraz? And we said, and it could hold sugar really well. So you had this sweet wine with acid, and you drank it and you smiled. And we thought, how do we get this to a market that's underserved? Underserved by agribusiness who just throw sugar and wine and off they go. Meanwhile, this whole demographic is like hiding in the closet drinking terrible wine because they're afraid to tell the world they like sweet wine. So we said, what if no more hiding? Forget it. No more talk dry, drink sweet. How about you say you drink sweet and have a product you're proud of? When we felt strongly enough, we put our name on it. We put the Cape Classics name on the back of this brand because the ethos were the same. Oops. The flagship of our company is a brand called Indaba. And I want to talk about this because this is how product ties into culture, which creates an importer that still matters 20 years later. It is a brand that has always been based on 2 principles. How do we show the US market how amazing authentic wine can be at $10? It happens to be from South Africa, and that's what we do. But it was also our philanthropic vehicle to make our industry a better place. So we started a scholarship 15 years ago that was solely dedicated to graduate level degrees. So bachelor's degrees, University of Stellenbosch, enology, viticulture, to people that were to the formerly disenfranchised of South Africa. And with the funds from this brand, back in the day when the company made no money but the scholarship was real and we paid for it on credit cards, our first student became South Africa's first qualified black winemaker. You move forward through the years and all of the people and then the graduate studies and then what we're doing today. I'm incredibly proud to say in 2015, the Indaba Education Fund became a licensed 501c3, and we are now dedicating all of our dollars to early childhood education. We've realized now that if you can't get a child by age 9, your ability to get them and change them and impact the next 50 and 100 years of Africa, you probably won't get them at all. So we've now started the Indaba Education Fund, and we're using the principles of Montessori education to change Africa in the next 1,500 years based on the wine we're making, creating, educating, and selling today in the US. And it's an important principle. Because at the end of the day, it's our company that makes what we do special. Whether I'm in the room or, again, a brand new hire that's only been there for a month, there's an energy around our company that I think makes a real difference in this industry. There's a positivity, a professionalism, a sense of purpose, and it drives right from this map. Has to start with quality. I think it was said brilliantly, the fact that you make it on a farm with real people in the vineyard, that's great, but that's the standard now when you're talking about that top 5% of wine, the wine that we all get really excited about. But you have quality, you have a happy customer. A happy customer buys more of your wine. They get used to that logo. They get used to your consistency. They get used to what you represent, and they buy your wine again. More money goes to the Indaba Education Fund, which makes a better South Africa. And then what is deeply inspirational to me is my fulfilled team. Everyone that walks in the door every day is thrilled to walk in the door every day. You know, you press your keypad in Manhattan, and they look at a sign that says, what good shall I do today? And that's how we roll as a wine company. It's not your typical wine company, but I believe that ethos through every employee, every region, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Texas, becomes much bigger. The sum is much bigger than its parts, and that's how you create a movement. And that's how you create an importing business that decade after decade after decade stays relevant and exciting and creates trust. I'm going to close with this slide, which inspired me. Steve mentioned almost 3 years ago, we decided to take the enormously, I think, brave leap and say, we may sell wine that's from somewhere besides South Africa. We chose France, which is a whole other presentation, but we had a big meeting with Zacky's at the close of last year, and something that reminded us of why we do what we do every day happened. We went through 20 French wines. It was one of the rare meetings we had. There wasn't a single South African wine in the meeting, right? And the buyer looked at us and said, wow, I can taste that Cape Classics DNA through all of these wines. What you've done in South Africa, you've now done in France. And that, to me, is the business model. That's what inspires, and whether it's the end consumer, the distributor, the SOMs, the off-premise buyers, when those people know who you are and they trust you, and you walk in the door and they're happy to see you, and they know what to expect from you, that is how you build an outstanding importer in the United States. Ooh, that's a big picture of me. Thanks, guys.